Hey, it's Jordan with TYT Politics. I'm here with Josh Fox, progressive, award-winning documentary filmmaker, environmental activist, hero for the cause. We've been out there. I don't even know how many stories anymore, particularly Standing Rock together. You've got a great new documentary out. It's called Awake, A Dream from Standing Rock, and I watched it, I think, at 2 in the morning, and it was really nice. It was a little different than I thought it was going to be. There's a lot. There's a lot of documentaries out. I think Vice did something, and there's been things at Sundance. What were you going for? To me, it kind of gave a nice cross section, both of all those grisly scenes we saw with police brutality, but also the cultural aspect, the Native American history, and more kind of going into what the Black Snake is about.
Well, Jordan, I didn't anticipate to make a whole feature film about Standing Rock. I went out there because I felt compelled, just as a person, to be there because I thought it was definitely one of the most profound fossil fuel struggles, in my view at first. And then I realized this was really about indigenous sovereignty and about respecting the rights of Native Americans and the treaties, which in of itself would be a huge leap forward for our environmental politics in the United States. But the film came about because I wanted to present something in the early days of the Trump administration that would serve as setting the record straight about Standing Rock. We saw, as you know, Jordan, when we were out there and when we came back, so much misinformation from the media about what Standing Rock was. The water protectors being called rioters. People characterizing these protests and these direct actions as violent. All of these things are completely untrue. People talking about destruction of property, and basically then also presenting the case from the oil industry in this sort of dystopian, myopic, mainstream media have to balance actual real people with somehow the oil corporations that are here with thousands of riot police. We wanted to set the record straight. What was it like to be at Standing Rock? What did it feel like? As you probably remember, it was like a dream. And so the film is called Awake, A Dream from Standing Rock. It's a dream that wakes you up. That's what happened to us there. If you can remember, when you got to the main camp, when you got to Ocheti and the guards would greet you at the front gate and they would say, "Do you have any alcohol, firearms, or drugs in your car?" And you would say no, and they would say, "Welcome home." One of the most profound statements. You're home because this is the place where we imagine our values to be at home. We are rooted in peace. We are rooted in praying. We are rooted in respect for people and respect for the environment. We're rooted in protecting the water. We have a kind of generosity, community, human rights as operating principles in this place. So this was an incredible experience that it redefined a lot of people's lives, and it did that for me. And so this film came about as a collaboration project because I think no one person, no one film, not even this film, of course, can tell the story of Standing Rock. There will be many, many films to come. But I felt it was not only just efficient, but also a core principle that we had many perspectives on this, obviously. So I directed one piece, which I co-wrote with Florice Whitebull, the very first person I met and interviewed about Standing Rock, from Standing Rock. Just a remarkable, enduring voice and presence and leader, a person who I thought that the world should know better. We did a video of her for Now This, for the viral video feed on Facebook, and she was recounting being thrown into a dog kennel underneath the police station after their camp was raided, and the young people being shot off of horses with rubber bullets, and horrible violence and trauma that she was experiencing. And that video, within like a week, went to 32 million views. It was really crazy virality. And it was that collaboration that we began to work with Awake, and she and I were co-writing that narration. She narrates the film. I'm not in the film. I just didn't feel like it was appropriate. It's the dream of Standing Rock is from the people from Standing Rock. So those collaborators, Florice Whitebull, Doug Goodfeather, who's our executive producer, Myron Dewey is one of the directors of the film from Digital Smoke Signals, who was there on the ground for 4 months. His segment is amazing. Academy Award nominated documentarian James Spion creates another chapter in the film. So it's 3 chapters and a coda that really give you a sense of how did it feel to be there? What was it like to be there? Can you breathe with it? Can you dream with it? Can you be awake to it? And I think it offers something very different than just our on-the-scene reporting that we gave out, because this was something that really, when we were out there, you know what I mean, we're under fire, run and gun, throw up video online, go out there and make news. This is something much deeper, I think, in a way. Not to say that that's bad. We both do that. But this was something that allows us to breathe it in and be there.
That's actually a perfect segue, because I was going to ask you, for me at least, when you're one of the only national outlets or well-known filmmakers out there, there's a responsibility to not miss anything and
Sure.
be very real-time and get shit out very quickly. So I was going to ask you, when you go back home and you have some time and you go through film and you have these conversations with Flores Whipple, this and that, did you learn anything or something come over you that you couldn't really absorb in the chaos then?
Sure. I think that a full appreciation of the total way that the water protectors upended our system of values in the United States. So, for example, my thought for this film, which is what Florisa and I were wrestling with and writing, was what if the last 500 years of civilization was just like a bad dream? And you woke up and you were back in a sense of these indigenous values. Well, that's kind of a metaphor for Oceti Sakowin and for the Sacred Stone and for the protest camps. They were organized upon different principles, right? Our civilization, United States, as you know from covering Flint and covering, all the things that you cover, Standing Rock, of course, our civilization is based on greed. It's based on institutional racism, institutional violence. It's based on consumerism. It's based on materialism. It's based on money. It's based on oil. This civilization that happened with Oceti and those camps were based on totally different principles. And that took a minute to absorb what it really meant. And then feeling like, oh, well, these are the things that we have to have as a protest movement. These are the things that we have to have as an awake society. It is those principles of quote-unquote civilization that are destroying our ability to live on the planet. And that was a deep thought. I think also, when we were there, really, really clear how the police were acting in a completely inappropriate and overly violent and aggressive way. And that was clear to us. You know what I'm saying? We were being shot at. We were being tear gassed. We were being pepper sprayed. Journalists, medics, water protectors, everyone who was near that front line was getting that treatment. But then to really look at it and say, oh my God, these officers are nameless, they're faceless. The government of North Dakota allowed them not to wear name tags, so you don't know who they are. They have blast shields over their faces or sunglasses or something to obscure their identities. So this is true cowardice. To take pot shots at kids and grandmas, with tear gas, and then not even own up to it by saying, this is who I am, this is my name is blank. You know what I mean? So those things in high relief in the film. So you get this feeling of this incredible gathering of people that you're a part of when you watch the movie, and then all of a sudden interrupted by these very intense confrontations. And as I said to you, when we were there on the front lines that one day when I was watching the water protectors in the water, holding their hands up saying, we're praying for you, we're praying for the police, we're praying for your children, we're praying for your water too. And then they all get maced. I was in tears, And I said, I think the American government lost all legitimacy today. So when you reorient the focus to this other reality, this is the soul of this continent. These are the principles that came from the indigenous people here in America, right? Democracy was invented by the Onondaga and the Iroquois. George Washington used to go visit their longhouses where they had their democratic ceremonies in what is now upstate New York, and he learned their system of government and basically stole it. And then the next night he would go out and kill all the tribes and murder women and children. So you have this weird thing that that the soul of this nation comes from its original people. Its original people don't want greed, don't want devastation, don't want oil, don't want these excessive things that so it's really an inquiry in that, and that's the question of the film: will you wake up and dream with us? So those are some of the things that the philosophical stuff seeps in, I think, when you come home, right?
Yeah.
And then the feelings that are still rooted in your body and you don't know what they are, so you get a chance to process that.
Yeah. I know you and I have spoken kind of just off camera as friends about, some people have different terms for it, but like Standing Rock PTSD, because it's a very high throttle traumatic situation everybody went through. And, some people even who weren't there still have effects from it. And what I find interesting is, this Morton County Sheriff, Kyle Kirkmeyer, is going around giving lectures and trainings to other police departments. Of course, the corporate media has not reported that Nebraska police have now bought non-lethal weapons like they had in Standing Rock in anticipation of possible demonstrations in Nebraska for the Keystone Pipeline. You have the National Sheriff's Association asking, lobbying essentially for more basically military weapons for sheriffs and police department. So it seems like it's not only a beautiful thing to see this film, but it's a vital thing to keep this awareness out there of what happened, because as Trump is saying, I mean, he wants to put through a new pipeline every day, and there unfortunately will be other Standing Rocks.
Not only that, Jordan, but this is not just a movie, this is a strategy. This is an instruction manual. When you see the militarization of the police force, you know that the only way that we can go forward is through masses and masses of people in nonviolent, peaceful demonstrations. They simply will not, they are preparing, it looks like, for some kind of urban warfare. And I'll tell you this, if you counter violence with violence, you can just expect more violence. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Honestly, there's no way to beat the system that way. And when you see the militarization that's occurring of our police, it's truly upsetting and daunting, but it reaffirms the values of operationalized peace. And that is a lesson from the film. But you're right, it's an education for Americans, it's an education for the rest of the world about exactly how 500 years of colonialism and colonization and genocide is exactly what the oil companies are doing right now. Those police are the ideological and genealogical descendants of General Custer.
I don't know.
And you see that, right? You see how, this mind-blowing militarization, right? LRADs, sound cannons, tear gas, rubber bullets. And the fact that these people are training other police force, that's scary. I don't know that army, and it's inherently racist, right? I don't know that army, which it was, definitely an army, could go into white suburban America and treat those types of people in white suburban America the way they treated the indigenous people in this country. That was inexcusable. So it's a lesson. It's a way forward. You're thinking about what's new, and you know this, like, it was a shock and a revelation every single time that they came out of those Humvees and those armored vehicles and with those bulletproof vests on. And here there's this one scene in the film where we call her Candy Girl, and you were there with me that day. She walked up to the military police and gives them Halloween candy because she says she just wants them to feel. She wants them to feel the love, and she's trying to treat them like human beings. It's remarkable.
I want to ask you because, I'm in D.C. There's a climate change march tomorrow. Today, Trump signed another executive order for offshore drilling, or to, re-look at Obama's offshore drilling, which means peel them back. And the media doesn't cover it. So I think one thing that's really interesting is the proceeds to this, large part of it's going for indigenous media. Can you kind of talk about what the goal is there?
Well, the directors, when you set up a film and you start selling tickets, you can make money. That's normal business, right? Profiting off of your art form, your work. Everybody does that, from rock bands to movie stars to everybody. Even journalists. Everyone.
Somebody's got to pay for those badass fedoras,
Well, but for this, we decided we didn't want to do that. We decided that the filmmakers, as a group of us, Florice Weipold, Doug Goodfeather, myself, Myron Dewey, James Spion, we decided, Kyle Kadata, managing director of the project, we decided we didn't want to profit off of this, that all the proceeds were going to go towards the movement. And the way that we felt was most important to us was that we were going to create an indigenous media fund. So here's the example. For me, my whole documentary filmmaking life starts with someone giving me $2,500 to drive across the nation and start to sleeping on people's $2,500 for a whole month of filming and driving to 25 states, to make essays. And that was, without that small amount of money, I would never have been able to make the movie. Sure, I was sleeping on the side of the road, on people's couches, in my own beat-up 92 Camry. I had all the old cameras, but it worked. And the film got made. And that's what we want to be for some indigenous filmmaker, indigenous reporter. Because honestly, these issues need to be covered. The mainstream media, they don't even realize how corrupt they are. They don't even realize how far off they are. Their dialogue is this wide, where we need a dialogue that's this wide. What I'm trying to say is, they say, well, where should the pipeline go then? Should it go somewhere else? Should it go here? Should it go there? Well, no. I mean, what we have to include in this is maybe there shouldn't be a pipeline. Well, what about all the Bakken shale jobs? Well, okay, what are we supposed to do with that? That's the mainstream media. Well, the police and the bombings and we have to be able to say, no, no, no. There is another option in your thinking, which is peace. There is another option in your thinking, which is wind farms and renewable energy. We don't need any of these pipelines. And in fact, it is that indigenous perspective and those values that we've felt very clearly had to get some support. And if we could do anything to increase that dialogue, that we wanted to do it. So the proceeds from this film, and this film is being distributed in an interesting way. We're trying a couple of different experiments. Until May 6th, it's donate what you want. Donate what you want. Take however you want, with a base level of $1. And so you can, anywhere up from $1, you can watch the movie for a 3-day rental. I think after May 6th, it may change the spectrum of it, because we're going to offer it for people to buy at anywhere. I think it's $15 and more. And we want community screenings to happen. So we want to give the film directly to people who will organize screenings. So at some point, I think it's on May 20th, we take it offline altogether. And it's only organizers that we're giving the film to, so that they can host screenings where people can watch it as a gathering. And the reason we're doing this is obviously we're trying to make a splash and get the movie out there to people in the initial burst. So if you want to watch it now, watch it now. Up until May 6th, it's pay what you can. After May 6th, for another 2 weeks, I believe it's the rental, not the rental, but the purchase for $15 or more. And we're doing this because we're trying to be disruptive of the mainstream media. We're trying to be disruptive of mainstream distribution and find out how this all works, because we don't know what it is to be our own distributors. My own movie has been they've been on HBO, and then we're giving the movie for the summer exclusively to organizers. So if you want to host a screening, we want people to in your apartment or at a movie community place or whatever. We want to give that to people to be able to do that. And see how that affects the conversation, because this is a film that we want people. We also have a screening guide that goes along with it that talks about all the various different places you can interact with. There are legal funds to donate to. There are mental health aspects of this crisis, that water protectors really need mental health help. So we're supporting the Lakota Way Healing Center. Doug Goodfeather, again, a subject of the film, started that Lakota Way Healing Center as a way to use Native ceremony to heal. And we have a lot of water protectors, like you said, PTSD, we've got that going on, and we need that healing, and we're going to need it more and more as we get more and more into this Trump administration, which is increasingly militarized, and we are going to have increasing battles on our across all sorts of fronts. So we're going to need ways to heal. So Lakota Way Healing Center, I think it's lakotaway.org. Anyway, so we're going to be distributing those guides to having a conversation after the film, and to say, get involved with that resistance, and work with this with your community. So those are our plans for the release, but we want people to watch this now. We want people to get it out. We rush to get this film out. So for the next 3 weeks, there's that opportunity to do it online first. So, these are the ways in which we're trying to have a dialogue with our audience and dialogue with the movement, and say to people, here's our initial splash, take it, run with it. And then after that, we very much want people to organize.
And it's, what's the website?
It's awakethefilm.org. Awakethefilm.org. And again, 100% of those donations and proceeds from the film go towards that Indigenous Media Fund and a Pipeline Fighters Fund. They go towards the movement, and they go towards, to supporting that. We did not. We're a nonprofit. We did not want to accept money in the same way that we might for like another movie.